Hey guys, it's Adam aka Swimming Bird, and welcome to a quick rundown of the new features recently revealed for Minecraft 1.11, the Exploration Update. And we're going to start off with the first of 4 new mobs being added to the game, and this is the only one most of us probably could have predicted. It's the llama, beating out the alpaca in a poll. But also the developers mentioned that the llamas are a little more unique from sheep or horses than the alpaca would have been. So this is what they went with. Now you can see they have different wool texture variants, and they can be saddled and ridden using a carpet, another use for the carpets, and you'll get different color patterns depending on which carpet you use. They can be tamed like horses by riding them repeatedly, and they fill this niche of Beast of Burden. So you can add a chest to your llama, and you get 6 inventory slots, not quite as much as a donkey or mule, which gives you 15, but they do have other benefits. If you have a lead on a llama, they will form a caravan and follow the llama that you have on a lead, so you can get a giant train of llamas all following you on your expeditions. And they also have a really cool spitting attack to combat wolves and maybe other mobs if they're loyal enough to you. We'll have to see in the snapshot. Now, wolves will run away from llamas, just like skeletons run away from wolves and creepers run from cats. So the llamas will keep wolves away from sheep, just like they do in real life. That's a common use of llamas in the real world. And they're most likely going to spawn in extreme hills or similar biomes. And this mob was created by the newest developer, Agnes Larson, aka Lady Agnes on Twitter. So this was added in pretty recently, but it's already ready to go, and I'm excited to see these guys. I hope that they change them a little so they don't spit each other or at least damage each other when they get into spitting fights. As funny as it is, I want my llamas spitting at enemies and not each other as I lead them through the mountains on exploration expeditions. So while you're going out and exploring, you're gonna want to have a new treasure map, and you can get these from cartographer villagers. It's a new career for the white-coated librarian villagers. They will trade you treasure maps. And also, lead developer Jeb mentioned that the villagers are getting more careers. He said careers plural, so we might get more on the way. Possibly a career for the green-robed villager, the nitwit. Doesn't have a career right now. Now, the treasure maps, they will lead you to hidden structures like dungeons, monuments, etc. And they only show you an outline of the land, and nothing's going to be loaded in on the map, really, until you find that spot in your world. And there'll be a player dot in one of the corners or sides indicating which direction you need to head. So you basically have to kind of look at the sun or hit F3 to look where north is, and then you follow that direction, whatever direction that you are in relation to the map. You follow that until you find the map, and then you can find whatever's there. Now, if the dot is really small, though, it means you are very far off from the location, so you might need to, prepare for a big hike, get your caravan of llamas with you. Now, there are different maps for different types of structures. You can get an ocean exploration map for ocean monuments and things like that, and then there's a woodland exploration map for a brand new dungeon we'll get into in just a second. There's also a locate command that you can use to locate the nearest structure. If you have access to commands, you can use this just to find dungeons, mine shafts, strongholds, end cities, all that stuff very easily, and you can set a starting point to search. So if you're just flying around looking for something like that in your world, there you go. Now, the new dungeon that can be found in dark oak forests, kind of fitting in with a Halloween release, is the Woodland Mansion. It's a procedurally generated house that is pretty spooky looking. It's not very well lit. Lots of monsters gonna spawn in here. It's an end game challenge, the developers have said. So you wanna make sure you got plenty of good equipment on you before heading into this one. Now, Jeb actually started working on mansions back in 1.10, and he waited until 1.11 to finish because he was adding so many parts to it. It got bigger and bigger, and the mansions were created using that structure block that we got very recently. So it's a lot easier for them to add in all these parts and make new structures, but Jeb kind of got carried away with it, and he made this giant thing, so it took a long time, but it is ready very soon to be released in 1.11. Now, the other 3 new mobs are going to be found here in this Woodland Mansion. They are evil outcast villagers, codenamed the Illagers. Now, the first one here is the Vindicator, and this guy will run at you with an iron axe, which he can drop when you kill him, and also rarely you can get emeralds from these guys. So they have run off from the village with a bunch of emeralds. And there's another one called the Evoker. Now this guy casts spells. He'll raise his arms and try to cast spells, but if you get too close and between spell casts, he will run away from you because he's not very, strong. He's got to use these spells to fight you. He's a wizard. Now, the two attacks that the Evoker can unleash are the Fangs attack, which is like a line of bear traps that come out of the ground. They're very crazy looking, like they just pop out of the mansion or wherever the Evoker happens to be. But he can also summon the third or fourth, technically, new mob after the Llamas too, the Vexes. These are little ghost imp demon things with swords that will fly around. They can phase through blocks, so they'll get you no matter where you are. And when they're about to strike you, they will have a red marking on them, so you know that they're going to try to hit you. So they're going to make the Evokers very tough to deal with. They'll deal a lot of damage. Combined with the Vindicators and all the other mobs like creepers and zombies that'll pop up in the mansion, this is going to be a tough dungeon to tackle, but there's a very good reward on the end of this. Not just the emeralds, but you can also get a new rare item, the Totem of Undying. The Evokers can drop these, and this will resurrect you on death if you have it in either your main hand or your offhand. So you probably just want to put it in your offhand in place of a shield or something. And then when you die, it will float around and do this cool effect and then give you some regeneration and absorption to help you survive. So if you are killed by a creeper, initially there was just regeneration to help you get your life back. But if you're killed by a creeper or something, you fall after you are killed, then it would just kill you. So Jeb added in the absorption to help you, survive a little longer while you're getting your health back. So that is going to be a very useful item and piece of rare loot. One good reason to go to the Woodland Mansion, but I'm sure there'll be other good stuff in there as well. Now, if you are exploring, you might want to head into the end and to the end cities, because Shulkers, the mob that we got in 1.9, now have a drop that is very useful, Shulker shells. And you use these, 2 of them, with a chest to craft Shulker boxes. This is a new type of chest that can keep items inside even when broken. So it's basically how in creative you can control, copy, or pick block a chest and it will keep all the items in there. But this is a special chest that does keep everything in there when it's broken, even like an ender chest, but each one has a unique thing. So instead of being linked with a bunch of chests, these are each very specific little boxes that will keep a ton of stuff. Now, this was added because of complaints of the crowded inventories that we got with all these new items being added every update. The developers felt like the backpack was a late game sort of addition, so Jeb combined it with the Shulkers, which are also end game mobs, to make the Shulker boxes. So you can have 27 item slots, and you can put anything in the box except for a Shulker box. You can't do any infinite chest trickery to try to, put 27 Shulker boxes, each with 27 Shulker boxes. You can't do some of that stuff. But you can store pretty much anything in there. They can be mined by hand, so they are very easy to, pop in your inventory, throw down, grab whatever you need out of them, and then break it again to keep going. They're not much of a hassle to pick up and drop down. They can be destroyed or popped by a piston. So when a piston pushes it, it pops into an item, but it will still retain all of the stuff you have in it. So you could send it through hoppers. It's going to be a great way to ship items around in very compact little Shulker boxes. And you can also have them placed by dispensers. The opening and closing animation is pretty cool too. It's very similar to the Shulkers. So they look really nice. And it's just a good way to store more items as you're exploring in the exploration update. And speaking of the end, they have added in portals to let you escape the end islands that will randomly generate out in the end. So if you get really far out and you don't want to try to get all the way back to where you were, you might be able to find one of these portals. It will take you back to the platform where you started when you fought the Ender Dragon. You can jump into the portal after you defeat the dragon and get out of there much easier instead of having to travel all the way back the way you came. There's also going to be a new type of uncommon loot, cursed enchantments, and these are not really good to grab, or you can use them, but they have a big negative to them that make it a double-edged sword or a double-edged armor piece. So the Curse of Binding is for an armor item, and when you put this on, you cannot take it off. Even if you die, it is locked on to your body, and it has to break. It has to lose durability and break for it to drop off. And there's also the Curse of Vanishing. And when an item has this curse, when you die, it will disappear. You won't be able to pick it up again, even if you get back to your items in time before they all disappear. And you can override this by using the keep inventory game rule for now, but the developers are looking for feedback on that. Both of these will probably be used in adventure maps and things, of that sort. And then really quick here before we get into some news about future updates as well, the observer blocks from Pocket Edition are going to be in the Java version 2. You can craft them with 3 cobblestone on top, 2 redstone and 1 quartz in the middle, and 3 cobble on bottom. They can detect block updates and output a redstone signal, but the normal buds, the normal block update detection methods are still going to be in the game, and the behavior is not going to be exactly the same as in Pocket Edition because Redstone has different programming between the different versions. Now, they did say the first snapshot is out Wednesday, September 28th, with the update releasing not long after, so I'm thinking probably a 1.11 pre-release on the 5th of October, and then a full release maybe a week later, as long as everything goes okay, on the 12th. So we should probably see this before Halloween, and we can explore these spooky woodland mansions and ride our llamas into the distance and all that good stuff. Now, Jeb, the lead developer, did do a Q&A, so we got some other info here for future updates. Past 1.11, he was asked, will turtles be added? He's mentioned turtles before. He says they are likely going to be added eventually, but he needs to find a good use for the shells. Similar to how he found a use for the shulker shells and things like that. And we already have shields, so if you have a good use for turtle shells for Jeb to maybe put in the game, let him know. And also he was asked, why don't we have snakes and birds and stuff like that? Jeb said snakes would be kind of weird with the collision and everything, but they are in mods like Mo Creatures, and they seem to work okay in that. But Jeb also wants to add birds. He says it's long overdue, so maybe in 1.12 we'll see birds and turtles. And people asked, can you add astrology to the game? And he said that right now the positions of the stars are formed when you have a random seed. They're fixed in with that seed, and they could have predictable paths and constellations to travel by if we are exploring, but it's been on the to-do list for years and no one's really done anything with it yet. I think most people just use maps or look at coordinates anyways, so navigating by stars, as cool as it was to do like the old sailors did, I don't know if it's going to be added. And also, how is the progress on the new launcher? He says it's good, it's nearly finished. And last but not least, a very controversial question. Did you remove the old PvP mechanics on purpose? Jeb was asked. And he said he has seriously considered reverting them. He feels that after playing with it, though, and trying to improve the combat, it would be sad to just go back to how it was before. They want to keep trying to find an ideal setup. And he does worry that players won't understand how it works, because if you're used to how the game used to play, where you can just click as much as you want, it's a little difficult to adapt to spacing your hits out and everything to get full power. And there's been discussion of making a competitive setting for Minecraft that doesn't change over time, because Jeb said if you wanted to perfect your PvP skills, it doesn't really help changing PvP every 3 months. And like in this new update, we're going to get 100% shield block damage. Unless that changes, that's what's going to happen. So things like that are really going to change PvP, but they don't want to keep doing that sort of stuff. They want to kind of figure out a good way to lock it in so people can get used to it. And they're also wondering what the proper competitive setting for Minecraft would be. Maybe it is 1.8, but they're going to try to figure that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are excited for 1.11, the exploration update. It's going to be out very soon, and we also have a snapshot not long after this post, so I'll see you guys for that. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this. If you want to subscribe, more Minecraft updates on the way. I'll see you then. Goodbye.